If you're curious how I turn Adobe XD designs into WordPress websites, then keep on watching. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan if you have not been here before, and this is Leo. Thank you guys so much for coming. I'm super excited you're here today. I've been getting so many questions recently on how to turn Adobe XD designs into functional websites. So I'm going to dive into everything you need to know about how to export files from Adobe XD to turn them into WordPress websites or Showit websites or Wix websites. This really works for any platform that you're going to be making your website on, but I'm going to dive into how to actually convert them to functional websites. So before we jump in, I want to kind of preface and explain why I design on Adobe XD before I turn it into a functional website. The reason I do this, and the main reason, is because I do not want to have to edit a already developed website, because that's going to take twice as long as if I were to just go in and drag and drop an edit that a client might have. So I find that saves me a bit of time knowing that the design is perfect and good to go before I sit down and just develop and make it functional without having to go back and forth with the client on the actual functionalities of the website. Another reason I like to do it on Adobe XD before making it functional is because I find that for the user experience, the overall flow of the website, it makes it much easier to perfect that when you have a full web design in front of you instead of going section by section, just designing it directly on the platform. So that is why I do it. I also find, last thing, is because I can really be super custom with the design, add really cool overlapping effects, maybe add some like art and like different sort of elements to the website to make it super custom. And I find that when I do it directly on the website, I don't really have that creative freedom, and I feel a little bit just like held back because I do not have that full perspective of how the entire website looks. So those are the reasons I do it on Adobe XD before making it functional. I think a lot of the times people feel that when it's Adobe XD, you can just like export it and directly upload it onto a website. I wish that was the case, but it does kind of, from like a far away view, seem like you're doing double work in terms of, you know, designing on Adobe XD and designing on WordPress. But trust me, it saves so much time, especially if you're working with clients and if you have a lot of back and forth edits. I love to just be like, hey, this is the final Adobe XD design, and there's no edits really. Additional edits will cost more if we decide to edit after it's functional. So that's kind of how I like to explain it to my clients. Like, if you have any edits on the design, I can easily make them now, but once it's developed, then it's kind of in your hands in terms of like if you want to edit things in the future. So I do like to tell that to my clients. That way it can be a really seamless process, and so I can just develop without worrying about what they're thinking. So anyway, those are just some reasons why I like to do Adobe XD before WordPress, but let's dive into how to actually make a WordPress website out of an Adobe XD design. So I'm super excited. I love doing this. I think it's so fun. So I'm excited to show you guys behind the scenes of how I do it. I wanted to walk through, before we develop the website on WordPress, I want to walk through and actually change up my design of my website a little bit. So I recently invested in some copywriting, and I want the website to really match the copywriting and to kind of like fit everything I want into it. So also another thing I recently updated is my color palette. So that's the first thing I'm going to do actually, is export that color palette and bring it into this Adobe XD. So I am currently doing that on my other screen, and I'll show you guys how to kind of set up the colors and the character styles. I just felt like I wasn't in love with my heading font anymore. I don't know, it just has not been speaking to me anymore. So I wanted to kind of change it up and do that. So I have my color palette here, and I'll show you guys how to actually add it within here. And you know what? I'm actually going to open up a new document and just walk through the very first step. So I'm going to go File, New. I'm going to do Web 1920 by 1080. That's usually the perfect size for a computer. You don't need to worry too much about this since we're going to export element by element, but that's the sizing that I like to do. So now I'm going to actually bring in that color palette on this one. And then we'll also fix up the fonts too. So I have the color palette. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over to colors here, and we're actually going to have to kind of mimic those colors by creating new boxes, and make sure you get rid of that border here, or else it'll consider that one of your colors. Okay, now let's keep going. And then we will get all these colors in there. So I try not to update my colors too often. I'm just a person that loves change. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just love changing things up. I love updating things, and I feel like this isn't too far off from what I already had. It's just a little bit brighter, and I really want to capture the essence of like vintage, and I think I'm going to try and get photos that have like more flash effect to it, so it looks kind of like a Polaroid almost. That's the goal. Anyway, so we have all these, so I'm going to go over here to colors now. I'm going to hit the plus sign. Perfect. Now it has all the colors there, and you can actually delete this, make it easy, clean up your board a little bit. And now for character styles. So I am actually changing my font to this one. So I'm going to put a heading here, and I'm going to type in the font. And let's see if I can find it. I have so many fonts on here. Okay, I might need to go re-download that real quick because it's not in here, it doesn't look like. So bear with me 1 second while I go download the new font that I have. Okay, I actually do have a download. It's just the Picnic Club. So I now have this font, and my recommendations, I've actually made a video about this. I'll link it up above on font sizing, but I usually like to do like 45 for heading. Sometimes I do even bigger, like 65, which I think I might do a little bigger for this. And then my little rule of thumb, if you go watch that video, is to times that number by 0.618, I think it is. Let me try. Okay, I think that's how I did it before. Let me try. If I had an 18-point font times 0.618. Never mind. You have to go watch that video. I cannot remember off the top of my head. I always have to write it down. But I'm going to just say 65 for my main heading 1. And then for heading 2, I will do a font closer to like 45. And I might even do that one italic. And then for my paragraph font, now this one is going to be Overpass. I'm going to maintain my body font, and I'm going to make that regular. So that'll be easy. I won't have to go change it like crazy on my website. I'm going to change this to 18-point font though for that. It looks really small on here, and that's actually something to preface your clients with. It's going to look smaller here since it's like a wider, far back perspective, but once it's zoomed in, it's going to be pretty big fonts, so you don't need to worry too much about that. So I'm going to bring this over, and now we're going to go to character styles and hit the plus sign. Cool. Now we have all of those in there. You can rename these to H1, H2, and I actually am going to do another font for buttons. So let's do that, and I think I'll do my body font, just do it all uppercase, and I do like a little bit of spacing with this one. So we'll do that. There we go. One thing I totally forgot to do, which I'm actually gonna go backwards. I totally forgot to change the color of this. If you don't change the color, it won't do it for here either. So now let's delete these and redo it real quick. Okay, so now the button font, do uppercase, perfect, and I'm going to change that to white since most of my buttons are colored. There we go, perfect. So now I'm going to bring over this real quick so you can see my current website. I'm going to maintain my header. I still really like that. So I'm actually just not even going to design this again on here. I'm just going to move on to the main page, and let's actually, yeah, we can work on the service. I'll do the about page. Let's work on my about page instead. So my about page, I definitely want to redo this. I just want it to be a little freshened up, you know, change it up a little bit. So I'm gonna go look for some inspiration and probably just get to designing. Okay guys, now that I have my full website design how I want it, I'm going to show you how I start the beginning of a development. So I already have WordPress. I've had it for years now. I use it for my own website. So to set up WordPress, you need to get a hosting account. I actually really love SiteGround because of their customer service, and because every time I refer someone to it, I get $50, which adds up to a really nice kind of passive income. So I do like SiteGround for many reasons though. I feel like I said, the customer service, the websites are really fast on there. So I do recommend. But that's what I use. So I already have my WordPress set up. If you want to learn more about how to like actually set it up and all the details of everything, I do have a course that goes into that. So definitely check that out if you want to learn all of the things in a really in-depth way. But I already have it set up, so I'm logged in. I'm going to go to pages here, and I'm going to add a new page. And I feel like it takes some time to get used to the dashboard of WordPress, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. So I'm going to call this about test. We can change this later by going to the URL right here and editing it. So I can do that later. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to use Divi Builder. Okay, so the reason I like to use Divi Builder, it's like a front-end visual builder. So it's like it allows you to do drag and drop building and design on the front page instead of going on the back end and having to do it there. So I'm going to say build from scratch, and we're just going to build it literally from scratch. So I am going to have to go in later and change the fonts, the colors that I'm going to use if I decide to move forward with it, but this is going to be a good test to see if I even like that new color palette I might do. So yeah, I'll definitely show you guys that as well. So basically the reason I like to do it on Adobe XD first is now I can reference this as I'm developing, And another really cool thing about it is you can go to share and go to development here. And first you'd want to make sure that you have all of these marked for export. Once you do that, on the development tab, you can click downloadable assets and basically download everything from a link. So actually I'll do that with you guys. I'm going to hit Command A. I'm going to go File, or go Object, Mark for Export, go to Share, Downloadable Assets, and let's create a link. And it also will give me the text, so I can just like copy and paste that too. I'll show you guys what it looks like. And then this is also good if you do decide to hire a developer. You can just send them this link and they'll be able to download everything really easily. So I'm gonna copy this link, and now we're gonna go open it up in this tab here. So just making my screen bigger. Okay, so now we have it open here. This also kind of allows you to see like how big, like I said, that text now is huge on the main page. When it's on that perspective where it's like smaller and you see the full page, it does look like the text is smaller, but once you get it like this, you can kind of see what I mean by that. So now if I were to go over here to this tab, I can see all of the assets to download. So I'm just gonna start downloading them, and we're gonna start developing. Once you get the hang of it, it's honestly so easy. And then it also gives code too. But yeah, it's honestly super easy. See, if I click on this, you can copy the text here, which makes it really nice as well. But so now for Divi, if I go to these three dots here, it'll allow me to do text, picture, text. So I'm actually going to change these to something more like this because I want the image to be a little bit bigger. Then we're going to go to the image area, and I'm going to go find where it's downloading all of those. I think they're going to my downloads, but let me go double check that. And the nice thing too is these are already resized for me, which makes it easy to just, you know, add the correct one in. Oops, sorry. I'm gonna want to actually click into this, and then we're gonna download it into the library. Upload. Perfect. And I'm gonna show you how to get that text, kind of like how I have it on this, where it's over the image and overlapping. So to do that, I'm gonna go here and click text. Actually, you know what? We're gonna make another. These are called the green areas. They're called rows, and these are called sections. So that's kind of something that you have to get used to with Divi, is knowing the difference between sections and rows. Pretty easy to understand. I mean, this is what's inside the section. Sections are just, they separate each specific part of that page. So I'm gonna do a new section. We're gonna just do a full bar here, and I'm gonna go to text, and I'm gonna put Y hello there. And while we're at it, I will show you guys how to add custom fonts on Divi. There's a couple ways to do it. Sometimes this way doesn't work, but I'm going to show you guys how they recommend doing it. So I'm going to go heading 1, go to heading text, and you would go right here to upload. So I'm going to go find my font. Picnic Club, that's what it's called. And it tells you here TTF or OTF. So I'm going to go and put the OTF. And we'll see if this works. Like I said, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I have to like add some code and like upload it differently, but this might work. Cool, so it did work. Now I'm gonna go find the sizing of this. It is 127. So we're gonna just type that size in here. And on my course, I also provide code that allows you to have the same text size everywhere. So anytime you add new text, it already will generate the font and the sizing. but that's a long piece of code and I don't want to go into all of that right now. So I'm going to drag this up top here. And now if we want it to overlap, you would go over here to design, go to spacing, and you could also just drag, here I'll show you that part first. You could also drag this, if I hover over this section here, I could start dragging it like that to get it where I want it. Takes some time. And then you could also go over to design, spacing, and you could go like -100, or let's increase this negativity, so -200. And we're actually going to want to do it to this area here too. So a lot of times this just takes playing around with, so you're just going to want to move it around and stuff. So let's try side, go -100. Oops, that's going to do the bottom of that. So it might not work since this is in a different section here. I might have to actually bring it in here like this and somehow kind of play around with that. So another way we can do this, actually, since it's going to be a little difficult to get this as wide as it is and overlapped, we can actually save the two of those together. So I'm going to go back to my design and I'm going to go to this area here and I'm going to group them. Now I'm going to export it. I'm just going to do it in my downloads. And this is just to show you another way to do it. This is going to take some time to like really sort out. So I'm just going to place it in here. Upload. Okay, so now you can change the sizing. You can do forceful width, and then if you're like, I want the sizing of this entire section to be bigger, we can also go to sizing and update the width here. There we go, and now we can add text on each side. And I'm just gonna, like, this little icon right here actually duplicates it. So I'm going to duplicate it and drag it on over. And now to get it to the very bottom of this image here, kind of like how I have it on the design, we can go and go into the settings here. Go to spacing and just increase that margin on the top part. Only thing I'll say if you're doing designs like this is to make sure it looks good on mobile. For the mobile, you might have to do a completely different kind of design. So I definitely would double check that before you publish and stuff. Okay, so then you can also change the gutter width. If you wanted to click in here, go to design, sizing, use custom gutter width. You could change that as well if you wanted to do that. I'm gonna change it to 2. And that should be okay for now. So I'm gonna click in this, copy that content and get it over here. You can also change it to be like full lined here. And let's copy this one. So I just really want to show you guys how customizable Divi really is in WordPress. I feel like sometimes WordPress gets a rap of being like very difficult to customize and stuff, but in reality it's actually I feel like there's way more options than a lot of other platforms. So I just really want to share all this because it's an awesome way to design websites. I'm also going to increase the spacing. I like to have really spaced out pages on my website, so I'm just kind of increasing that a bit. I'm going to look back over here, and now we're going to do this background color. So it also allows me to copy the color code. So now let's add a new section, and we're going to change the background of the entire section. And I do have my colors set up in here, but since I am trying out a new color, I'm going to click in here and paste it right here. And then we're going to add a text module. And we're going to go over here and copy this. I'm going to make it a heading 2. And we're also going to go find that font we uploaded. And we want to make sure we're on the right heading text up here. See, there's H1, H2, H3, and within here we selected H2. So you're going to want to make sure that those match up as well. Okay, cool. So now let's check the sizing of this is 45, and we want this to be like 45 as well. And I do want it italicized. So I would have to upload the italicized font to get it exactly how I want it. So let's do that real quick. Okay, cool. And let's center this. And now to get that overlapping image, I'm first going to download it. And I'm going to I'm just going to add an image actually. We're going to add an image like this, so just another module below it. And I'm going to go and download that, upload it. We're going to upload that real quick, and perfect sizing. So then I'm actually going to align it to the right to start. And we're gonna kind of decrease the sizing just a tiny bit. And I'm gonna say I want the spacing, don't want that below image one. And okay, so now, I'm actually gonna do a new row for this one because we do want it to like kind of reach the full width of the section. So then I would want to go into this row settings and change the width of this so it reaches a little bit farther out. Okay, now to get it to come up a little more, because now this is all off-centered, I'm gonna go to spacing. We're going to do a negative margin to get it higher up there on the page. Okay, so now it seems a little stuck. It's not really moving where I want it to. So I'm going to go to the transform tab, and this is where you can really drag things around and customize it. So I'm going to drag it up to, let's look at the design, say like around there. And we're going to change this so that I'm going to just squish this a little more so it's not as wide. Okay, so sometimes I run into not issues, but parts where Divi is just not providing me the results I want. So when that happens, one of the reasons I do love having WordPress is because I can add plugins to customize it even further. So I do have a plugin. I'm going to go to my dashboard. It's called Visual Portfolio. I love it because I can display images really nicely, and it's really responsive on like mobile and everything. So I'm actually going to do a visual portfolio for my little timeline idea that I have. So I'm going to go to saved layouts, and we're going to create a new layout. So one of my recommendations when it comes to plugins is to always make sure that you're looking at reviews of that plugin, because if the reviews are not good, you're definitely not going to want to use it, because that could potentially break your website. So definitely keep that in mind. But I do like Visual Portfolio, has really good reviews, and I do have it on my current website. I'll show you. So this is using Visual Portfolio. My entire work page is using it, and I love it so much. I think it's really responsive and really nice. I'm gonna go to continue. We can do that, and that works. So now it's going to be really nice because I can customize the way it looks. Like, there's so many options. I can do a different layout, the style, if I don't want it to fade or anything. I don't want to show title or categories or anything. I do want to change the number of posts. So let's go find that layout. Okay, cool. Right here. So I'm just going to do carousel. I love it too because I can add the effect where you can drag the items, which is also really nice. So you can do slide, overflow. I might actually just do the grid format. Let's see. Yeah, grid format. I think that's what I need. Perfect. Okay, so now I want to remove that effect too where you hover. So I'm just going to play around with this, let the video record so I can show you guys kind of how I'm customizing the website. Okay, I want to hop in here real quick to talk about like hover effects. If you want to have the hover change colors when you go over it, you can easily do that. I'm actually going to remove the border radius. Do not want that. Okay, so the button background color. What you're going to want to do is go over to this icon, this little click icon, And then we're going to want to go to the hover, click settings here, and we will change that to, let me go get that color code. Change it to that color. So now when we hover over it, it'll be exactly like that. And I'm actually going to decrease this text size, and I want some sort of border. Just to get the button a little bigger. Okay, cool. So actually we need to change that border color. So then you'd have to change the border color for both the hover and the background. So you'd go over here to this click icon and change it here and change it here. Oops. Perfect. So now when you hover, it'll have that color. So pretty cool. Oops, I just published. You can save draft or publish when you're designing. I also like to hit Command S on my keyboard to make it really easy. But this is overall how you customize WordPress pages. I'm actually going to exit so we can take a look at it. But there's so much customization you can do. I'm going to need to fix this. I think it's because I told it to stretch over on my visual portfolio. Let's go look at the saved layouts. Yep, that's why. Okay, now let's go back to the page. There we go. So yeah, that's how you turn Adobe XD web pages into working functional websites on WordPress. Alright you guys, I really hope that you learned something from this video, that it helped to kind of see my process of how I turn designs into functional websites. Please let me know if you have any other questions by commenting down below, or find me on Instagram, find me anywhere, and I'm happy to connect with you all. I also have a WordPress website design course if you do want to learn more about WordPress and Divi and the client process and all those types of things. Definitely check out that course that I do have always available. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you learned something and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in my next video.